Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Pradajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Pradajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Mr. Pad Pranamahamsa Paravatakacharya Ashtotirtha Sri Srimad's Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Don't put it on the floor, just pick up there. Yeah, and put it right on there. Yes. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 15th day of December 2025 in San Diego, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. I think we're on text 5. 6, text 6 on page 5.
5.
It is 5. Yeah. 5 on page 571 at the top there. Got it? 571, quite a bit in, way in. There you go. Okay. Sattvam, Rajas, Tamaiti, top of 571. Got it? It's got a little problem getting the page. 571? Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti, Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha, Nabadnanti, Mahabaho, Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam, Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti, Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha, Nibadnanti, Mahabaho, Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam. Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti, Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha, Nibadnanti, Mahabaho, Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam. Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti, Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha, Nibadnanti, Mahabaho, Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam. You want to try? You want to chant? Do you want to chant? You don't have to. It's too. The verse we just did. At the top. Oh, we want to read the Sanskrit. Go ahead. Read the Devanagari. Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti. No. Then you read the next part. Guna. Sambhava. Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha. Nibadnanti. Nibadnanti, Mahabaho. Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam. Okay, go ahead. Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti, Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha, Nibadnanti, Mahabaho, Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam. Not yet? Okay. Bhakta Chad.
Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti,
Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti,
Guna, Prakriti, Sambhava,
Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha,
Nibadnanti, Mahabaho,
Nibadnanti, Mahabaho,
Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam.
Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam. Okay, word by word.
There are others on.
Okay, someone else?
Yes. Sattvam, Rajasi, Tama iti,
Sattvam, Rajas, Tama iti,
Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha,
Guna, Prakriti, Sambhavaha,
Nibadnanti, Mahabaho,
Nibadnanti, Mahabaho,
Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam.
Dehe, Dehinam, Avyayam. I know who that is, but who just chanted?
It's Antonella.
Antonella. Oh, nice. Nice to have you, Antonella. Huh? Is there anyone else? Dr. Chad, you know.
I don't know if anybody else wants to chant.
Okay. All right. I'll read the word by words. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Rajaha, the mode of passion. Tamaha, the mode of ignorance. Iti, thus, gunaha, the qualities or the modes. Prakriti, material nature. Sambhavaha, produced of. Nibadnanti, do condition. Mahabaho, O mighty armed one. Dehe, in this body. Dehinam, the living entity. Avyayam, eternal. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Purport. The living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with the material nature, with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because living entities have different kinds of bodies in terms of the different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to that nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, the title of this chapter is Three Modes of Material Nature, and naturally we're hearing about them now. And first, Krishna reiterating things, some things we've already heard about before, but this whole chapter is focusing on the material modes of nature. So it's important information. So Sattvam, Rajas, Tama, Iti. Now these are the three modes of nature. Now sometimes Prabhupada would refer to them as qualities because it's the same word, guna, you see. So if you see that when he says qualities, I say modes because I think it's important to distinguish them. The modes have a certain unique quality to them. Use the same word, quality. And it's not, if I'm in the mode of goodness predominantly, say, you see, then it doesn't quite work to say I have the quality of goodness, because the quality is a more specific thing. There are different qualities that I'll manifest that are in concert with the mode of goodness. For instance, peacefulness, cleanliness, calmness of mind, what we call dhira, which is sober-mindedness and like that. So those are qualities of the mode of goodness which we try to cultivate in Krishna consciousness, because Krishna, he is situated in the Vasudeva state. That's one of the reasons he's called Vasudeva. Vasudeva is otherwise known as pure goodness. Did I say Om Jnana? I did that, Om Jnana, right? Om Jnana Timirandasya. Anyway, I don't think I did. I better say it. Otherwise, I'll probably go silent. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, one of the things that we're in darkness about is our situation here in the material world. We don't really know who we are. We identify with this body. I always like to give the example of driving, because if you drive, you may go through a stop sign or something, and you get stopped by the police. So what do they want to see? Driver's license and registration, right? They want to know that you're authorized to drive, and they want to see the registration to make sure that it's your car that you're driving. So both of those. So what's on that little license? Your picture is on there. Your age is on there. Your address is on there. I think they even have your eye color on there. In other words, something that can prove that the person driving this car has an actual authorization to drive cars. So what are all those things? They're all pertaining to the body. How old is the body? They have your birthday on there, your address, where the body lives, right? What the eye color is, that's certainly bodily. So all of this is simply the default in material consciousness, that you identify yourself with the body. But we should know that that's also what the animals are doing. I learned so much from my morning walks. I make about a whole mile up and down total on this Cass Street. And it's a good walk. It's a nice little incline, so you get to exercise. So it's pretty early in the morning, especially on a Sunday. Yesterday, there were hardly anyone, but on weekdays, people are out, There's one yard gym out here, which is very popular. It came from Australia. It's not just you go in there and you find your little bicycle and you ride, No. They have coaches, they have music. It's all rock, heavy rock music with a lot of rhythm, so that, when you're doing your push-ups, you can. So they come, 6:30 in the morning. They're coming there to, get their juice in them. So, but it's all. But I always feel this. It's like a temple to the body. You know, I'm going to make my body strong so I can really enjoy. You know, it's and this is just 2 blocks away. It's a temple to the spirit. Now, of course, we're also using the body. I'm using my hands. I'm using my voice, and all these different things. But it's in the service of the spirit. The idea is that as a spirit soul, we are trying to act and live in a certain way that we maintain our remembrance and increase our remembrance of the Supreme Spirit, Krishna. So it's a completely different focus. We also have, you know, some ecstatic kirtans. It may look like a place where you can go in and get back in shape. But that's peripheral. You know, that's not our purpose. That's not the purpose of it. So these 3 modes are going to be described, what the symptoms of each one of them is. And we can probably, you know, like mode of ignorance. So the mode of ignorance is characterized by extra sleep, intoxication, laziness in the matter of spiritual life, you know. Lazy is like a good thing. It's very, you know, characteristic of someone in the mode of ignorance. What is it? Uncleanliness, yes. Huh? What else? Oh, yeah. But we have mics. Here, give him the mic, because we have people on YouTube. Don't be shy. Yeah, you got to hold that. You see, there's a switch on the side. Just hold it down till it lights up. You got it? Yeah.
Brazilians, Portuguese, everything from. How many people could fit in the system?
How many people what?
Could fit in somebody's system.
Could fit?
Yeah.
In the systems? I don't understand what you mean.
Like we have hundreds of millions of people.
All of them. Every single one. If we're here in the material world, it means that we're in a combination of these modes. You know, one is predominant, the mode of passion. They'll be described. The mode of passion means activity for enjoying. You know, you really want to make a lot of money so you could buy this and get this success. You know, this is the mode of passion. Get ahead in the world. The mode of ignorance means, I'm blown out. I don't want to fight anymore. Maybe give me a little drug. I'll sit on the street. You know, all these people, these poor people, homeless people. Often they just fall into the mode of ignorance. You know, and they manifest that. It's sad, but the mode of passion is commonly what we see. Is that hard work, get ahead, get a place. But it's frustrating, and the modes change. You'll be in the mode of passion for a while, you know, but then you get defeated, something happens, you get depressed, you'd rather go to the bar than go to work. You know, that's another one, intoxication, very common for mode of ignorance. And the whole point of this, because the ultimate question is, well, what's the harm? You know? What's the harm if I go get a little drink with my friends? You know, I like to do it after work, you know, it's like that. The harm is that you're systematically ignoring your actual nature, which is purely spiritual, and the goal of your life. You have goals that are in terms of these modes of nature. In other words, okay, I want to enjoy, but I need to enjoy. I'm going to have to make money, so therefore let me work hard, you know, get ahead, you know, like that, and invest and so forth. You have all of these ideas, so that attachment that you develop for the things of the pleasings of the senses. You know, the senses, of course, the sex is a big one, but food and so many different things, and, you know, there's a million different things you become attached to, try to enjoy. But those pleasures that you get, which are all temporary, right? I think one thing we can all agree on, material pleasures are temporary. We can say, well, yeah, material pains are also temporary, true. But the thing is, as living entities, we're part and parcel of God. This is an important understanding. We're little units of consciousness, and God is the supreme consciousness, Brahman, you see. We're localized in his body, you see. But Krishna, God, Super Soul, he's in every body, every single body. He knows. That's what it means to be. I remember before I ever heard of Krishna consciousness, I used to study some philosophy when I was in high school and everything. And some of it was on like the theological side. And here are these 3 main qualities of God, you know. omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. He's all-powerful, he's all-knowing, and he's everywhere. He's everywhere. We can't say that about ourselves. Obviously, we're in one spot. We know certain things, but there's millions of things we don't know. And who's omnipotent? Nobody, you have a little bit of power, but as you get older, it gets weak. But we still have God's qualities in minute degree. We have a little bit of power, we have a little bit of knowledge, and so forth. So the point is that we have left, we're all aliens here. We don't belong here in this material world. And the proof of that is that everything is constantly changing. You can never get a permanent situation here. Because the nature of inhabiting a material body, and this is something also, the first lesson of Krishna consciousness in the Bhagavad Gita, that we're transmigrating. Even in this one body, we're transmigrating. I remember that's a wonderful verse, Dehi nosmin yata dehi, 2nd chapter, text 13. Krishna gives a description of what's happening that anyone can, if you're just a little thoughtful, can say, yeah, that's true. I didn't realize that before. And that is that even in this one body, we've been changing bodies. Can everyone remember a little bit about when they were 8 years old? I remember a few things. There's a lot of, but we were definitely alive, right? We had different mind, different bodies, smaller, childish, whatever it is. And then at a certain point, we became 13. Then there's a lot of changes in the body. Same person. By that time, we've been in school a little while. We know a lot more, reading and so forth. So the mind is changing. The physical body is changing, but we're the same spirit soul, or Atma, which the nature of the Atma is that it pervades the body with consciousness. And it's carried, believe it or not, by the bloodstream. That's why you can cut your fingernails and cut your hair and you don't feel any pain, you see. But you slip a little bit and you cut, because there's blood, and there may even be blood flow. So wherever the blood flows, that's where the consciousness is. So anyway, this is how, so, and during my lifetime, we've had so many different identities. Certainly as a child, your outlook on life is completely different. Then you grow up a little bit, now your big brother's, tormenting you in a certain way, so that's a different reality. Then you get older, So, and it doesn't stop. You get to be 20, 30, 40, now I'm 50, half my life is over or more, And then all kinds of things change. And at a certain point, this is just an incredible machine. You want proof of the existence of God? Just think of your own body. You didn't create it. No, there was no other human being who created it. How did it come about? It just came about by chance. That doesn't make any sense. There's so many complicated things, just like you see a car outside. Did it come by chance? No, there were so many intelligent people that figured out how to fix it together, the engineers and everything. At every step, whether it's the paint job or the complicated machine, there is intelligence involved. There's an intelligence. So where there is intelligence, there's a person. There's an intelligent person. And that the only intelligence great enough to create this incredible varieties of bodies, over 8 million varieties according to the Shastra, is that omniscient person, God, you see. So that's what we're learning in the Bhagavad Gita. Now he's describing how the material energy is working and how these modes of nature are affecting us in our life. And he's going to give us explanation why it's important to want to cultivate the mode of goodness and ultimately the mode of pure goodness, which is not at all tinged. So let's go on. Everything will come clear. All right, and it's generated from Prakriti, which is material nature. And this is what binds us, nibbannanti. They condition, the word of conditioning, but you see the word nibbannanti, it has the word badna in there, it's like bondage, it's the same word in English. Dehe dehinam abhiyam. In this body, the living entity, the dehina, the soul who lives within the body, who is himself eternal. We never die. I have a little motto that I worked out, Now, it's a little complicated. It's better if you see it printed out. But the first line is every body dies, meaning not everybody, but every single body. Okay, every body dies. Nobody dies. wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. That's more or less the summary of the basic principles of Krishna consciousness. So let's go on and find out how these modes of nature are working. 6. Did we do 6? No. Tatta sattvam nirmalatvat pakashikamanāmayam sukasangena bodhnati jnanasangena chanaga. So, of course, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra in the chariot. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. So even though they're in better shape than the others, they're still conditioned. In other words, still habituated to a material sense of consciousness, a sense of happiness and knowledge. Purport: the living entities conditioned by material nature are of various types. One is happy, another is very active, and another is helpless. Happy is mode of goodness, active is passion, and helpless is ignorance. All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entity's conditioned status in nature. How they are differently conditioned is explained in this section of the Bhagavad Gita. The mode of goodness is first considered. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. A man or a woman in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type is the Brahmana, who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. Well, he is situated in the mode of goodness if he's a genuine Brahmin. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and the philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted toward working in the mode of goodness, and as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But, due to the illusion of the material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant. So even the mode of goodness, as I like to say, it's not good enough. We have to, the mode of goodness is a good foundation upon which to develop spiritual knowledge, by which we become fixed in the mode of pure goodness and actually make progress on our way back to Godhead. Okay. So now the mode of passion. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi Krishna sanga samudbhavam tanna bodhnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. Purport: the mode of passion is characterized by the attraction between man and woman. Woman has attraction for man, and man has attraction for woman. This is called the mode of passion, and when the mode of passion is increased, one develops the hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. For sense gratification, a man in the mode of passion wants some honor in society or in the nation, and he wants to have a happy family with nice children, wife, and house. These are the products of the mode of passion. As long as one is hankering after these things, he has to work very hard. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that he becomes associated with the fruits of his activities and thus becomes bound by such activities. In order to please his wife, children, and society, and to keep up his prestige, one has to work. Therefore, the whole material world is more or less in the mode of passion. Modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standard of the mode of passion. Formerly, the advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in the mode of goodness, what to speak of those who are entangled in the mode of passion? So, some people in this world, it's so difficult out there that a lot of people, they become depressed and they go to a psychologist or something like that in order to, And what the psychologists are trying to do is to bring you out of the mode of ignorance, in which you're completely down on yourself, you don't want to do anything, you just want to lie around, take some drugs, sleep. Sleep is a big thing, But if you have some, parents or friends who have an affection for you, they'll try to help you. Maybe you say, well, look, you got some chronic depression here, we'll take you to a psychologist, All right. So what the psychologists try to do is to bring you from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion, so that you'll, again, want to enjoy in this world and be, get yourself together, get to work, and get back with your friends and like that. So it's not really going to help you to achieve the ultimate goal of life, which is liberation. For now, it's liberation from the entanglement in this material world. It's really a false understanding that what happiness in this world is just being nicely situated in a mode of passion with a nice wife, a home, a family, like this and that, and enjoying what we can in this world. Understanding, of course, that when you get older, it's going to be more difficult, and eventually you'll die. But in the wisdom literature, the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads, there's this whole other understanding that we don't die, that we take another birth, and that we want to try to end our going from material body, one after another. Birth, old age, disease, and death. Birth, old age, disease, and death. Life in the womb is described in quite detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And how it's, intuitively, and we know that, any mother will tell you at a certain point, 6 months, 7 months in, the child wakes up and they'll start kicking and you'll know he's active in there, right? But imagine you're woken up, well, you've got some understanding. Where am I? I'm in this tight, it's a miserable life in the womb. It's a lot of suffering. And you get born, that's a lot of suffering for the woman, right? So, and then you come out. And then what? You don't know anything about anything. All you know is that there's this you don't even know what a human being is, but there's this mother, this person who loves you, takes you and gives you food, breast, whatever, so there's a relationship there. And then you go on from there. So, but the whole process of taking birth, growing old, getting diseased, and now we can't get any health care, they didn't renew it, it's the whole thing. And finally facing death. And if you have no assets in Krishna consciousness, it's a terrifying prospect. Everything that you work for, my relations, everything, it's all being taken. And there's all this pain in my body, I worked in a hospital for about a year, and I worked on the floors with the inhalation, the guy who brings the oxygen, And so a lot of people die, and it was always a sobering experience. Oftentimes they sedate you because it's so, which is the worst thing. You want to be conscious at that time when you leave the body and be able to think of Krishna. That's but they don't know that in the hospital, So that's the reality. It's all just. This is why this is called Bhava Sagara. Bhava Sagara. Sagar is an ocean. And Bhava is becoming, changing, change. This is the whole thing in the material world. It never stays the same. It's always changing. Climate change. I've been here since '89. So 36 years now in this city, my main home. And I've seen the climate change, Of course, it's still San Diego, and the weather compared to so many other places is quite moderate and sunny. You got the ocean here, But we used to have so many birds. I swear, when I first came here, it was the late summer, And then as soon as it got a little bit colder for autumn, we had a whole bunch of birds migrating from up north down south, because it was going to get cold up there. And they would, somehow or other, San Diego was a place where they all kind of hung out for a little while. They had the whole birds, you know, they would wake you up in the morning, you know, and then after a little while it got colder, and they were going south, get a little warmer, you know. So they're not here anymore. I mean, there's occasional birds. There was even some hummingbirds I saw that last spring, which is quite weird. But it's decreased because the general climate has changed. I don't know exactly how, but not just here, but all over the world. There's fewer birds and fewer insects, who we need, you know, for the insects we depend on. So it's constantly changing. So you think, well, oh, I made it. I'm live in San Diego now, you know. But whoa, what's happening here? When I first moved here, I was living in Miami. I'd been living in Miami for 6 years, and there it's all hurricanes. You know, when the hurricane season comes, July, you know, you watch the weather, you know, channel very carefully. Is it coming? Is there something coming? You know. While I was there, we had a few scares south of us and north of us, but never hit. But here it's the earthquakes. You know, so I immediately found out, where is that San Andreas Fault? Am I on the fault? You know, so I found out, well, down here it's a little bit east of us, so it's not so dangerous. So, okay, oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know. But that's the way the material world is. You can never really get, you know, settled, because as soon as you get settled a little bit, things change. I have my kids and my wife, and oh, but my God, my kid is sick. Oh, God, I'm going to take him to the hospital, you know. Or the kid is rambunctious, he breaks an arm, you know. Luckily, my child had never broken an arm, but I had a lot of sprains and things. So it's just anxiety. The spiritual world, it's called Vaikuntha, the place of no anxiety. All of this change, the whole idea is that we have an original form, a spiritual form that we've lost touch with. It's still there, but it's dormant. And now we are identifying with these ever-changing material forms, even in this one body. But there's so many different species. Like these people are walking the dogs. They have love for the dog. That's why they're walking the dog, you know. But they could easily think of that dog when they die and become a dog. Yeah. That's how it works. The intelligence is there, the super soul, and all the demigods and everything. So this is not what we're meant for as Atma. We're spirit souls. We have this spiritual identity. We've forgotten it. Krishna consciousness is the yoga that systematically trains us how we can progressively remember that identity, work in it, and ultimately remember what our consciousness is when we leave the body. That will determine our fate. So at every moment, we try to, you know, fill our day with Krishna activities, service, remembrance, beginning with hearing and chanting, so that when that time comes, and it may come at any time, you know. There's one verse in Ashtaka, it's an 8-verse poem, and there's one beautiful Ashtaka about the holy name, and it says what is it? I forget the Sanskrit, but I put it into English. Remember that our final breath may come at any time, no matter if we're old and sick or in our youthful prime. So young and old alike should chant the name, the holy name, incessantly. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. And each of the verses ends with that line. So that's the actual situation we're in, is that we don't know. You know, an earthquake could come, you're driving on I-5, some crazy guy, you know, is in a Tesla. I mean, don't they have the thing where it like drives automatically, right? He's napping in the back seat, and he's just going by you, and you're looking. There's no driver there. You freak out in an accident. A million things could happen like that, right? So we need to. The whole point of Krishna is to get to the point of thinking of Krishna at every moment. Just like now, we're hearing from Krishna, Bhagavad Gita. So it's a perfect situation. All right, so that was, did we do 7? I'm losing track. We did. All right, so let's see the mode of ignorance. Tamastra jnana jam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidrabhis tanna buddhati Bharata. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. Purport. In this verse, the specific application of the word tu is very significant. That, Indolence means laziness. Yeah. So the word tu, which is there, the second word, which becomes a TV, because the next word begins with a vowel. That's tu, means but. And so it means it's going to see this means he's emphasizing it. Tu is very significant. This means that the mode of ignorance is very peculiar, is a very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. The mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, by development of knowledge, one can understand what is what. But the mode of ignorance is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance becomes mad, and a madman cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature. Vastu yatatmya jnana barakam viparya jnana janakam tamaha. Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand a thing as it is. For example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died, and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die, so death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. This is madness. In their madness, they are very reluctant to make advancement in spiritual understanding. Such people are very lazy. When they are invited to associate for spiritual understanding, they're not much interested. They're not even active like the man controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptom of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than is required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient, but a man in the mode of ignorance sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna. So, what was I going to take? I thought of the shloka while I was reading that. But, so the danger is that if we are ignorant of all of this, that will allow ourselves to associate with others in this mode. Just like this, I like to point out, those who have been, I'm sorry you hear this all, if you've been coming to the classes a lot, you hear a lot of repetition. So here we are at the corner of these two streets, Cass and Grand, right, basically. And we've been here a long time. This temple was founded in like 78, so it's been almost 50 years. And on the corner here, there wasn't always these, this thing. It used to be like a filling station here when they first got it. But now, as long as I've been here, there's a bar, and it has changed ownership. Sometimes they stretch there. We have so many screens, you can see the games, the football. Then there was a little like pizza and beer, it was like, anyway, but it's always a bar. So people walking down the street, now, depending on what mode they're in, they'll be attracted if they come across it. Oh, this is interesting. I heard about these Hare Krishnas. Let me check it out, Whereas others say, I wouldn't be caught in there for 1,000,000 years. Those people are crazy. No illicit sex, gambling, meeting. This is my very life. So they go a little further. Oh, there's a bar. Oh, yeah, let's check out the game and have a beer, So one is in the mode of goodness and the other in the mode of ignorance. The ignorant people go to the bar, and those in the mode of goodness, they may check out a Hare Krishna, pick up a book, So so you see how your fate in life is by your modes. If you understand these modes, you understand how important it is to be in the mode of goodness, you can cultivate that mode. And that's what we do. The whole process of Krishna consciousness, regulating, renouncing the 4 sinful activities, eating, illicit sex, all that helps. And most important is to associate with this knowledge, because the knowledge that we're getting now, and that is in these books, and that we try to live by, this will automatically transform the mode that you're in. You want, there's one verse that's, I think it's quoted twice in the books, and it's written by a great acharya named Yamunacharya. He was the spiritual master of Ramanujacharya, who was a whole one of the main acharyas in the Sri Sampradaya. There's different sampradayas, the disciplic succession. So Yamunacharya, he was a very, very brilliant student when he was growing up, and he became a very nice devotee, brahmachari, you know. And he had a debate with this the court pundit in one kingdom that was nearby where he was living in. And so he wanted to show, you know, his prowess in he was very intelligent debating. So the king said, oh, he's just a kid, you know, because his court pundit had defeated all the other pundits already, you know. So he said, oh, if you can beat my pundit, then you can have half the kingdom, you know. So he said, oh, okay. Now, I have to study this more, because he was able to ask some very far-out questions that the court pundit couldn't answer, you know. And in this way, he defeated the court pundit, and he got the kingdom. Now, suddenly, instead of being a brahmacharya in the ashram, he's got a kingdom. And so he kind of gets into it. And for years, he led the life of a king and enjoyed and everything like that. But then, the way I heard the story is that at a certain point, one of his old buddies from the ashram visited the kingdom and said, oh, Prabhu, nice to see you, you know. And so he suggested that they take a walk in some of the gardens, you know. So as they were walking, he started reminding him of all kinds of nice verses that they had memorized in the ashram, you know, reawakening his Krishna consciousness, you know. And so Yamunacharya, he kind of woke up, and he said, God, I've been, you know, bewildered by this kingdom for so long. So he just kept walking. He left the kingdom. And he became Yamunacharya. And then and while he was the king, you know, he had all facility, he had the harem and the queens and everything. So then he wrote this verse, part of, I think, Stotra Ratna. I may be wrong, but it's a famous verse. And so it goes like this, the Sanskrit, of course. Yadabadi mama cheta Krishna pada binde navanavana sadhaman yunyatam rantam asit. Tadabadi batanari sangame smaryamane babati mukavikaru sushtanishtivanancha. And Prabhupada very charmingly he says, he gives the explanation in this verse. So Yamunacharya is saying, ever since I've been enjoying moment to moment the taste of serving the lotus feet of Krishna, nama nama rasa, the mellow taste. Then ever since that time's come, then ever since, tadabadi natana, when I somehow, you know, the memory of my intimate relations with my harem comes up, and I think, oh, and his lips twist, and because he says, I spite upon it, meaning he spits. Yeah, I spit at it. In other words, it wasn't even something that was tempting him, but it was just that it was just something that he had given up all attraction for, because of the attraction of Krishna. So this is the whole idea, is that these varieties of pleasure, even in the mode of goodness, it's not good enough. But the mode of goodness opens the door to your receptivity for transcendental knowledge. And we are enjoying beings. Any kind of spiritual program that doesn't put us back in the position where we can experience moment-to-moment spiritual pleasure that will be an antidote to any temptation to enjoy material pleasure is going to fail. Even just to merge into Brahman. You know, there's a whole bunch of impersonalists, Mayavadis and others. Their goal is not to go back to Godhead and cavort with Krishna in the world, spiritual world. They just want to become free of birth, old age, disease, and death, be situated in their pure spiritual nature and merge into the Brahman and stay there. The perfection. No more birth, no old age, no disease. You know. But how long can you stay like that? Because we are persons. As spirit souls, we are, spiritual persons. And we require activity, and that's where the real pleasure lies. And so those who happen to merge, they more or less get bored up there and then come back down. They're not secure in that liberation, you see? Because we are naturally spiritual beings. We have an eternal relation with Krishna and a rasa that when we get situated, then we'll be situated forever. So that's so the verse is yen yeda bindaksa vimuktamaninas, those who simply think they're liberated by very performing severe austerities, rising up to Brahman, controlling the senses, living alone, and then but they fall down again because it's not really the natural position. So anyway, he's going to go on. We're almost out of time now. But this chapter is very important because we're living with these modes of nature, and it's important to see them, how they're manifest in the world, and to choose to cultivate the mode of goodness. Because the mode of passion is very hazardous, and even more so the mode of ignorance. Mode of passion, you get, you have to have this enjoyment, that enjoyment, all these things. But all of that plants a seed of desire in your mind. And then at the time of death, they're all there, and you want to go take birth again to enjoy, these pleasures. But according to your karma, you may not be able to, So that those two things, your karma and your cultivating desires, which are like knots, they're called Hridaya Granti, they'll bring us back again and again to the material world. So that's why the point of madness comes up. And that brings up one verse, which I'll share with you, then I'll give you a couple of poems. And that is Lord Rishabdev. In the 5th canto, 5th chapter, the teachings of Lord Rishabdev, they're very important. And he's actually an incarnation. And when he was about to renounce his kingdom and leave, he brought his 100 sons together, the foremost of whom was Bharata, who became King Bharata Varsha. But he had 99 brothers, 9 of whom became 9 Yogendras. They took sannyasa and traveled everywhere and preached, And the others helped him to run the kingdom. But Rishabdev himself, he went out, you see. So before that, he gave these instructions to his sons. And one of them is very pertinent and reminded me of this idea of madness associated with the mode of ignorance. So he has these 3 verses, and I'll just share them with you real quick. So it starts out like this: Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya apranoti nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. So nunam means certainly, pramatta, mad, completely mad. Matak is mad, and pramatak is totally mad. Kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya apranoti, those who are simply after indriya priti, sense gratification. They're mad because they, in that consciousness, they're sure to perform vikarma. There's karma, akarma, and vikarma in the 4th chapter, because we have to know the difference. So karma, it means fruit of activity, and in a larger context, it all means fruit of activity, but still which is under the guidance of the Vedas. The karma kanda section of the Vedas. So it's not sinful activity, but it's fruit of activity. But if one becomes completely simply absorbed in sense gratification, then you perform vikarma, which is sinful activity in the service of the senses. But he says then you've got to be completely crazy to do that, because that kind of activity is sure to bring you another birth. And because you're unconstrained, the sinful activity, you'll be suffering like anything. He's saying it's not a very good idea. Sadhu in this case means very good, but nasadu means not stupid. Manye yata atmanoyam, because then the soul by that would be asan api kleshada asadeha. Although the body is temporary, he will get a body to bring klesha, misery. So you're ensuring future suffering by this. So then he goes on. And the 2nd verse is really illuminating because it deals with knowledge. What's the antidote? Padabhavas tavada bodha jato yavan jigyasata atmatattam yavat kriyas tavadidam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. Yena means by which. So padabhavas means defeat. Defeat means you didn't get liberation. You're coming back again for another, jail sentence in a certain body. But what is it born of? Abodha, ignorance, is born of ignorance. And what is the ignorance born of? Abodha jato, yavan the jigyasata. As long as you don't inquire about the absolute truth. You remember the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra begins, Tato Brahma jigyasa. One has to inquire about Brahman, what's the source of everything. So this is without that inquiry, then you're sure to remain ignorant, and that ignorance will sure to bring you defeat and birth after birth. embodied yavat kriyas, and as long as you're acting fruitably, tavadidam manovai karmatmakam, your mind is karmatmakam, means filled with all these fruitive desires, yena, by which, yena sharira bandha, you may be bound up to a material body. Third verse, the solution. He says, evam mana karma vasham prayunte. Yes, evam mana karma vasham prayunte avidyatman upadiyamani priti niyavan maya vasudevi namuchate dehi yogena tava. So he said, thus the mind, impelled by these fruitive desires will keep you bound here. And therefore, until one has love for me, says Lord Rishabdev, Vasudev, he identifies himself with Krishna there, he's an incarnation. Priti niyavan. Yavan means as long as you do this, or as long as you don't do this, you won't get this. So yavat tavat. Priti niyavan mahi vasudevi. As long as you do not have love for me, Vasudev, namuchite dehi yoga, you will not be liberated dehi yogena tavat. You will remain linked up to a material body. And therefore, the cultivation of knowledge is so important. That's why somehow or other you're all sitting here for a half hour, 40 minutes, and the knowledge is Krishna's knowledge. So that's what we need to do, is cultivate that knowledge and try to live according to it, so that we can stop being controlled by the lower modes and just come into the mode of goodness, which will be a very good foundation for further advancement. But it all depends on this knowledge and seeing ourselves in terms of the knowledge, seeing the world, and working in terms of the knowledge that's been given. That's the knowledge is so important. Okay, I guess it's not, we don't have time, but I'll give you one. This is a very sweet verse to remember Krishna. Maduram maduram vaparasya vibhor. Maduram maduram vadanam maduram. Madugandhi madusmitame tadaho. Maduram 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 maduram. Bilva Mangal Thakur. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form. Sweet is still his face, so fair. But his honey-scented, gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. And now let's see if we can remember that as we see beautiful face and form of Shri Giridhari. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. We'll continue tomorrow.